name's Kelly Corrigan. I'm a licensed USEF judge. I have my large R in hunters, jumpers, and equitation. I grew up in Northeast Ohio. My mother had a farm. We grew up raising horses, some show horses, some race horses. We started showing ponies when I was probably 5 years old and have basically been in the horse show world ever since. Well, I had been asked during college to judge a couple local and 4-H type horse shows, and I really enjoyed it. I liked being on the other side. I'd always been the one being judged, and it really gives you a very different perspective. With the current USEF rules, you can compete as an amateur and hold a judge's card. So I have a good balance between showing a couple weeks out of every month, and I usually try and judge 1 week a month, and then the rest of the time is devoted to family and friends. The furthest I've traveled is Alberta, Canada. I did that 2 summers ago. That was a great experience. It was a week-long show. And then I've also do a lot of local shows here in Lexington and a lot of local shows where I grew up outside of Cleveland, Ohio. I spent a lot of time traveling around Pennsylvania, Indiana, the rest of Kentucky, New York, kind of all the places I showed growing up. Those are the people that know me, so those are the shows I get hired at. I only judge usually 1 to 2 weeks per month, depending on the season and depending on my own show schedule. But there are many judges out there that we call professional judges, and they judge 2, 3, 4 weeks every month, and they do make a decent living, but they have to travel, and oftentimes back and forth to the West Coast, up into Canada. But if you judge 5-day horse shows 2 to 3 times a month, you'll definitely make a decent living. Yeah. So I usually try and arrive about 7:15, maybe even earlier if it's a facility or competition that I'm unfamiliar with. And then I usually go check in at the horse show office. Generally the cards are all prepared, my courses are there. I grab a walkie-talkie and head to my judge's stand, and from there I spend 15-20 minutes going through my cards, making sure they're in order, because they are not always. And then I can look at questions that might arise later on with, you know, a medal class or a division that may need to be combined due to small entries, which happens a lot at some of the smaller A-rated shows. And a typical day at an outdoor show, because we do have light issues, usually they run till about 4 or 5 o'clock. There are indoor shows that I judge that can easily go to 10, 11 o'clock, which can be difficult. They're usually long days, but you know, as long as the horses are coming in the ring, it's really quite easy to stay on task and stay focused. In order to get your license, you first need to apply for a learner judge's card, and you do that just by applying with the USEF, and you need to attend a clinic in whatever aspect you want to do, whether it be hunters, jumpers, or equitation. You need to do a clinic, and then basically just start apprentice judging with licensed judges. And then once you do all those learner judging shows, you have to get recommendations written from each of the judges you sat with. And then twice a year, I believe, the Licensed Officials Committee meets, and they go over all of that. Every applicant, every form that's been returned on you, and then they vote and decide whether you can then get what's called your small R, which is a recorded judge. There's definitely some things you need to know. You need to know that you will be sitting a lot all day. You really need to be able to be super organized. Organization is the key, especially when you get into large classes or holding several cards open, which happens a lot. So it's very much organization and being prepared. You know, you don't know if you're going to be sitting out in the heat, sitting in freezing. So I always have a bag that is well stocked with snacks, hand warmers, anything you might possibly need to make sure that you're comfortable all day, because the days do run a long time. The other thing is you need to be professional. You need to be on time. There's nothing worse than somebody who shows up 5 minutes before the class starts. They don't have their card ready, they're not ready to go. So you have to be punctual. You want to be friendly with the management and the staff around you, because you could easily be working with them anywhere from all day to some of these circuits run for 7 weeks. I would say my favorite part about judging is when I go to some of these smaller shows and I see a super talented child that rides incredible, and you know they have a strong future and hope they stick with the sport and are able to stick with the sport. I also love being able to judge bigger classes, like an equitation final, like a year end, and it gets fun. We can test the kids a couple times, ask them questions. A lot of times the classes are at night, they make a big spectacle out of it. That's where I truly love to judge, because everyone's having fun. Then they do big presentations and it really makes our sport seem important. But I truly love seeing the next greats coming along. You see a great little baby green hunter or a child that is super talented, and I've seen a lot of kids go on and I judge them as pony riders, and I've only been judging for about 16 years, and now they're winning equitation finals and competing in Grand Prix. So it's nice to see how our sport gets to develop and come along, and what the new trends are, and I really like seeing how our sport changes, and hopefully it keeps changing for the better.